Our next guest is a dear friend to all of us, most of the time. He's the co-host of Weekend GMA, co-founder and host of 10% Happier, Dan Harris. And Dan recently dedicated an entire episode of his podcast to the issue of loneliness. And so I know you've been speaking to experts about loneliness. What did you find out?
Well, first thing to note is that the thing we're all doing, hopefully, to keep ourselves safe, which is social distancing, can have an adverse health outcome, which is loneliness. And loneliness isn't just some mildly unpleasant state. If it goes on too long, if it becomes chronic, it can lead to health problems, like, as Dr. Jen would tell you, heart problems, depression, dementia, and this is if it goes on too long. So you really have to keep an eye on it.
No, it's a serious thing. And then there's the flip side. Many of us are experiencing the opposite of loneliness, cooped up with our families for far too long.
There was a record I used to listen to back in the 80s when I was into punk rock, and it was called You're Living All Over Me. And that is a sentiment that's come to mind occasionally, being cooped up with a 5-year-old recently. But the truth is, actually, you don't have to be alone to be loneliness. Loneliness is a subjective state, not an objective state, and it really has to do with the quality of your relationships, not only to other people, but to yourself. And really, that's the key variable.
That is so true. So what do you do if you're feeling lonely?
Okay, so you got to work on the quality of your relationships. Just say you're cooped up alone or with people with whom you don't feel comfortable. You should make it a habit, and I talked to the former Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, about this, who's written a book about it called Together. His advice is every day, do a call, preferably on video, to somebody with whom you have a good relationship. Work on that relationship. It can only be 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes, and the key is do not be distracted while you're doing it. Don't have your phone out, don't check social media, don't check email, and maybe even make a pact with other people on the call. We're going to pay attention while we're on this call.
Makes a lot of sense. The other thing you say to do is acts of service.
Yes. Well, see, the thing about loneliness is it throws you into a threat state where we're evolutionarily wired to feel under threat when we're alone. So we're going to focus on ourselves. The way to break yourself out of that threat state is to focus on other people. It reminds you of your value, and it connects you to other people, and that can be an incredibly helpful thing.
It certainly can. I always say the same thing to my kids, and it makes a big difference. And the final tip, it leads from there, is just to know that you're not alone.
We had a big loneliness problem in this country before COVID-19. Social distancing has put it on steroids. It's very easy to feel like everybody else is living their best life. If you look at social media, everybody's posting happy pictures. But the truth of the matter is loneliness already was a huge problem, and it's a huge problem now. And there's so much shame around it because loneliness tells you the lie that it's your fault, that you're unlovable. You got to get over that and reach out for help, because that is the answer.
And I found, just personally, and I think anecdotally from other people I've talked to, I'm hearing from friends I haven't heard from in years saying, let's Zoom, let's check in with one another. And that's what each of us can do. We can be the person to reach out.
Yes, it's beautiful. I mean, every Friday night we have a high school reunion now with my high school buddies.
I love that.
It's really cool.
We have a Friday night fun fest as well. It's happy hours, plural. That's what I call it. All right, Dan, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
We appreciate it. And you're always a good friend.
Thank
I was
you.
teasing you.
I know. That's how I know that I'm not lonely, is you tease me all the time.
You tease the ones you love.
That's quality relationships.